The Secrets of Star Wars is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
Hi, this is Ashley Eckstein, the voice of Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars, and you're listening to the Secrets of Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you.
You're listening to The Secrets of Star Wars, episode 85.
Hello there.
It's a power that Jedi have that lets them control people and make things float.
Impressive. Every word in that sentence was wrong.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
It's against my programming to impersonate a deity.
That's not how the Force works.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force, and I fear nothing.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Hi everyone, I'm Thomas Sanjurjo, filling in for Father Fett this week, and you're listening to The Secrets of Star Wars, where we talk about everything connected to that galaxy far, far away, including the deeper themes and meanings. Today we're talking about episode 12 of The Bad Batch, Rescue on Ryloth, and we have a great return of Hera Syndulla and much more of the Batch this week than last week's episode. And joining me today on the show is a new voice. Welcome, Mike Denz.
Great to be here.
It's good to have you. So we're trying to get some new blood in because we're, I think we're struggling with keeping up with the weeklies. I guess it's a lot over the summer, everybody taking breaks and everything. But glad to have you.
It's nice to be called new blood, although I've being 50 years old, I saw the original Star Wars is that plural? Star Wars movies, and so much ever since. So it's kind of interesting. Getting to talk about some of this new stuff and seeing how it's all connecting with all the new stuff. With how we had in the first episode of the Bad Batch with the Jedis and Order 66, and now we got Hera coming into full circle in these last couple episodes. So it's like the connection between the Bad Batch and Rebels is really kind of cool.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. It's great watching it all kind of fold in together. And I know that's one of the big complaints a lot of people have about Star Wars. It's like it's all connected and it's such a big galaxy. How's it all connected? But like, it's a story you're telling. The story is connected, obviously, right?
Yeah, it's the fun of it. If it was all disconnected, it would drive you nuts.
Yeah. But speaking of Order 66, we've got a little bit of a pause before we get to the show notes. Mike, I have to tell you about our Ham Solo segment. So that's what we're going to go with. That's what we're going to be calling it. Mike Creevy, who's one of the other voices on the podcast, he came up with this idea that whenever he goes to the deli line on the weeks to get his ham, he can enter a name in for the waiting line. And so he always enters in an obscure Star Wars reference of some kind. So unfortunately, it doesn't get actually called, but it does have a sticker on it afterwards that says whatever the name is. So he's been going with those. But this week, Father Andrew actually sent us a picture of him being the victim of becoming the dreaded Order 66 on a drive-through visit.
Boy.
There it was, Order 66 on a drive-through visit. And Mike sent us his deli order from this week, and it was Lando Calrissian's loyal sidekick. Do you remember his name?
Lobot.
There you go, the cyborg Lobot. Awesome.
Yeah.
So the idea is to use an obscure Star Wars name anytime you have space in a deli or coffee or waiting room line. And what we'd like to know from you, listener, is if you have done this, who have you used and what, take a picture of it. If you go to Starbucks and you put the name of, like if you put Sebulba on your cup instead of your name, we'd love a picture of it. If you can catch a video of them saying it out loud, that would be even better. And then if you could just share it with @SQPN and tag it with Ham Solo. That's Ham, Ham Solo. So hashtag Ham Solo. That'll get us the note so that we can check it out and we'll talk about them on the show in the future. But for right now, back to our discussion about Clone Force 99 and this episode, The Rescue on Ryloth. So last week, Father Andrew and I were talking about this and we had some pretty dire predictions about this episode. Fortunately, they did not come to pass, at least most of them. We knew that the Batch was going to be coming back for the rescue, but we were a little worried about the status of the Syndulla family by the end of this episode. So that I'm glad that didn't happen, but at the same time, it kind of this fills in some gaps for us, and we start to see even more questions that are being asked now by it. So we'll get into that as we go.
I was getting a little confused with Ezra's parents. who they talked about a lot more in Rebels, and how they were missing or killed. I'm trying to remember. They are gone, right? They were killed.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm watching this. I'm like, wait a minute. Her parents, were they okay? You know, I'm trying to remember. Did we talk about her parents? I don't remember. If
we
Rebels
did. We had a
mentioned.
very brief interlude in Rebels where we talked, where she actually went back and met Cham at one point, and she had an interaction with him, and they were not on good terms. And that's that's an interesting. You know, it's one of the things that we talked about, Father Andrew and I last week. We're saying that maybe what happened was something with the mom, and that caused a falling out between Cham and Hera, but that didn't come to pass in this episode. So I don't know. We'll see. There's more to the Hera story, which is great. I like that. I like the character. I like the way that she's being portrayed. So I think it's great that that we might get more of that story in the future.
Right.
But that's this one. This kind of opens up. What was your initial impression of this episode? How'd you feel about it?
I liked it. It's interesting. I have mixed feelings when they have children be the main characters. You know, it's it kind of brings me back to when Anakin in episode 1, you know, was kind of a big part, obviously, of the entire movie, and it got kind of child, you know, like, okay, is this really something for me, or is this more for the kids? Right. So when you had Zandula and Orion, no,
Omega.
Oh my gosh, Omega, not Orion, Omega. You know, when these two are kind of doing their things, and they commandeer a big shuttle and they're blowing stuff up, and it's kind of like, you know, shouldn't clones be a little bit more inept to stop this from two kids? Right. You know, so that you know, kind of took the edge off of it a little bit. You know, because a lot of the stuff with the Bad Batch and what they're doing and what they're dealing with, and knowing you're steeped in the aftermath of Order 66 in the beginning of the Empire, and you're seeing all this happen, and you know what the Empire is doing. You know, I like the more edgy stuff. So I like the episode overall, but I guess that would be my one critique of what I didn't, you know, like about it.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, and I think the overall, this has been a more adult geared show than the Clone Wars or Rebels, where Rebels got into some pretty dense territory though too. So yeah, it's kind of a toss up. I think this one was. I agree. I think that the scene with them blowing things up was goofy. But then I'm reminded of, you know, the original Star Wars, where it's kind of like Luke really had no idea what he was doing.
At least he was an adult, but yeah, he was kind of like, you know, goofing around. It was like the Resistance was much more to me like a kid's cartoon. Like it was seemed to be much more geared to that kind of more simple and goofy and things that not necessarily complex storylines and stuff like that. Right. Whereas Bad Batch really hasn't done that. But at the same time, I'm not saying I don't like seeing the origins of her and how she's like, you know, and this idea that like, okay, this is a future general, you know, and here she is a kid and she doesn't even know how to fly yet. She's such a great pilot. I mean, with all those things, that was neat.
Great. And then you get to see the seeds sown here. That's one of the things I'm gonna when we're going through the breakdown. You get to see the beginnings of, hey, you can't not only could you be a pilot, but you could be a strategist. You could be an effective part of doing something and having something happen. So, all right, well, let's go ahead and get in it. We start off with this episode. We open up with Admiral Rampart gloating over his success in capturing Cham, and we see kind of how he's spinning the assassination attempt thing. That's one of the questions we had last week, is how exactly are we going to spin this assassination attempt issue? And apparently Senator Ta is still okay, or Rampart's lying, one of the two. I guess we're left with this quote from him that says that Senator Ta is making a full recovery, which it didn't look like he was going to after last episode. That did not seem like it was going to be the case. But since no one who saw who shot Ta, that's where Rampart is kind of bringing in this idea that it was one of Cham's compatriots that shot him, and that's why we're going to go with this attempted assassination on Senator Ta. And I was surprised to see here that Howzer is willing to disagree with the official story very openly, like to challenge Rampart's official story and say that he's not sure about this, that he doesn't think that it was one of Cham's group, and to kind of push back, because we've been getting that official line of good soldiers follow orders, that they're all still under this kind of Order 66 brain wipe, but Howzer definitely does not seem to be. And then the issue of Hera comes up. Rampart says that he's got somebody looking for him, and I love Chem and Eleni's complete lack of concern for their daughter. They're like, yeah, she'll be okay. We're not worried about her. We're not going to tell you where she is, but you're not going to find her.
we saw Rogue One. We know she's okay. She gets she makes it all the way to she's fine. It is kind of like it is interesting. But I mean, they obviously had trust in her. They didn't trust him to, like, when he came back to plead, let me know I can protect her, and they're like, no, she's fine. We're not gonna, and she was.
Yeah.
So they were right.
She was great. They were very good to trust her.
Right.
So yeah, but I love how they're playing the Howzer character, because I think for us as the viewers, we're really wondering what's going on too. I think they've set it up in a good way for us to question the clones thoroughly. In the same way
we don't know if Howzer. I mean, we assume he still has the chip and everything. He's
right.
Yeah. So now it's like, okay, so now they can, plus all the, I don't mean to skip to the end, but all his men who were thrown down and arrested. Apparently the chip isn't. It's wearing out. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe that's part of the downfall of the clones in general, when you need stormtroopers, because the clones just became unreliable. That could be part of it.
Yeah. I hadn't thought about it that way. Maybe that's why they're trying to phase them out.
It just occurred to me. Like, I mean, because eventually clones are looked at as like the backwards, lower class of society.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody likes clones, and so it would tend to reason that maybe that's one of the reasons that the Empire kind of started just kind of sowing seeds of distrust, and we don't want clones anymore.
Sounds like the Empire. You worked for us, and now you're no good anymore. We're going to tell you. Toss you out. Oh, boy. Well, so Hera, for her part, knows she's in over her head, which is good. It's good that she recognizes that she can't do anything from the position that she's in. So she calls the only group that she knows how to. And it shows how quick friends that she and Omega made, because Omega gave her their direct line, and only for emergencies, of course. But this is an emergency, so she calls, and initially the batch isn't thrilled about the idea of having to fly back to Ryloth so quick, but Omega convinces them, and I thought this was a great turn too, like convinces them that that's what soldiers do, that they help people in need, which is a complete shift from the line we've been getting since the beginning of this series, where it's, good soldiers follow orders. And what she's saying is kind of turning it on its head and saying, no, soldiers help people who need help.
Yeah.
And that seems to work.
Yeah, I was paying extra close attention to that. They gave that as a big line at the end of that scene, where he says, there's a lot of things going on, and we can't always drop everything to help everybody. She's like, yeah, we can. That's what we do. That's exactly what soldiers do. And just the influence that Omega has on him and the rest of them. All four of them is apparent, obviously. But it's not just she's cute and she's the kid and we all love her. It's not that. They're learning from her.
Right. Well, and I like the scene a couple of episodes ago that we got where Hunter turns around and gives Omega a direction, and Tech's like, Omega's not even here. Like, what are you doing? You left her. Why are we referencing her now? So yeah, I think they're really feeling like she's an important part of the team. And we also get that really clever scene here where she's trying to fix the Gonk droid, and Hunter walks by and says, "Oh, don't even bother. He's defective." And she just kind of gives that offhand line, "Well, we all are."
Yeah. Yeah, I always remember that as the power droid, because that's what it was called for my action figure when I bought it from Star Wars. Because originally you see him in a sandcrawler in Star Wars New Hope. But anyway, I mean, because the power droids seem offended. Wait a minute.
What do you mean I'm defective?
I'm fine, and she's like, "Don't worry, we're all defective."
We're all defective.
Yeah.
It was a good tacit acknowledgement of the fact that they're all not the perfect clones that they're supposed to be, right?
Which is good.
So,
yeah.
Well, in this case, it's very, very useful.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Clone Force 99 initially unwilling to go along with being hired by a kid. So they finally get back. They land. They get out, and they're like, well, okay, so who was it that hired us? And it's nope, that's it. It's Hera. And so they're kind of not interested at first, and then she lays out who her father is and what's going on with the Empire's occupation. I love that that it kind of shifts on that, where they're starting to realize that something's up and they're not comfortable with what's going on. And so it's almost like they were still trying to figure out how they were going to fit into all of this until these last few episodes where they're learning, we're not really sure we like the way the Empire is now and what they're about, as opposed to the Republic that we did fight for before this. And they're at least interested enough to go scout it out. And when they do, sure enough, it's another military occupation, but this time, and I think this is the thing that really sets it apart, it's not a separatist planet. And there's a little bit of talk about that. So, you talk about those deeper themes, they're kind of, it's kind of off to the side in this episode, but it's there still, where the clones are like, wait, this isn't right. This is not a separatist planet. These are guys that we fought with.
Yeah. They
shouldn't need this military occupation now. And before they can make a decision about what they're going to do in a plan, they get scouted out by an Imperial droid, and Hunter takes him down with a knife, which was awesome. It's good to see Hunter kind of back in his strengths, right? Yeah. I love I love hearing the sound effects of the probe droid. You can't mistake it. And I also love the line where it said, "Well, the Empire knows we're here," which is exactly what they said in Empire Strikes Back. I'm just calling back the repeating lines. Yes.
The Empire knows. The Empire knows we're here. And it's like, yeah, that's what we always say when we discover a probe droid. The Empire knows we're here.
That's what they're there for, right?
Yeah.
And so that's exactly what Hunter does. Is he says, this just really isn't worth the risk anymore.
Right.
And that's, it's a good scene, kind of leading back into then on the other side of things. Stuff's not going so great for the Empire at this point either, which is good to see. It's good to see the Empire not having everything just go exactly how they want it to. And we get that good scene with Howzer and Admiral Rampart, where Howzer's disagreeing with him, saying, look, we can't just keep rounding up innocent people. They're not guilty of anything. There's no reason for us to round them up. And if you keep doing this, then the people are gonna revolt. And Rampart plays his hand and says, okay, well, that's kind of what I want, right? That's
exactly.
It's the good thing. That means then we can round everybody else up too, and that makes it easier for us.
It also goes to the Empire's prejudice against alien races.
Right.
They're not the Twi'leks. They don't look, they look at them, down on them as inferior.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're probably more interested in enslaving them. Certainly not wanting them to be any significant part of the Empire as far as fighting. Give us all your weapons, turn all that stuff in. And once they get that, it's reminiscent of standard operating procedure, we freed you, give us your weapons,
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Come on, people. That's the way empires work. That's how it happens. Well, besides, can you imagine trying to make stormtrooper armor for all the different variations?
Oh
on
my
race?
gosh, I know. How big are your tentacles or whatever? Do they have a name for those? I don't remember. I think they do.
Leku is what they're called.
Leku. Okay,
yep.
Yeah. And they're all over the place. The senator, he was really, I don't know if
four of them. Yeah,
he was fat, and they're all over. Yeah, it was just very, very weird. It kind of looked to it, much different than Bib Fortuna, our first Twi'lek experience. He looked like the standard. I'm like, whoa, they can be all sorts.
Yeah, and this is I think it's interesting too here to see the freedom fighter nature of them, but to get that backdrop for them that they've been enslaved for so long, and they fought with the rebellion, or with the not with the rebellion, with the Republic to free themselves, and now they're back where they were, at the beginning, with the Empire coming in and kind of squashing them where they are. And and I think Howzer knows it. Howzer knows what's going on. He's got a good bead on the situation that really this was the bad way, the worst possible way to have gone about it. But Rampart is completely unwilling to share that measure of being in control Cham, making sure that Cham is not going to have that position of power at all. So he manages to get rid of both the senator and the speaker at one time, with this move, which is what he wants, and he just wants to replace that vacuum of power that's left there.
Right.
And during all this, we get Omega, who's the strategist, going back to Hera to say, "Hey, look, we can make a plan. We can figure this out because this planet, and you can tell us, what's going to work." And I love this moment. This is the first time we really hear how Omega views her relationship with Clone Force 99 when Hera asks why Omega feels like she can trust them, and Omega says, "Well, because they're my brother." She's talking about Hunter specifically because he's my brother. And it's like, oh man. And that frames it, because I think a lot of times we've been thinking about when we've been talking on the show, we've been talking about the fatherly relationship that they have.
Mm-hmm.
But none of us had really put a finger on the older brother, younger sister thing. And I think that was a really good, this was a really good moment in the show to frame that.
Yeah, I like that, and it helped Hera come to terms with, okay, I'm trying to rescue my family, and you trust your family, and I trust you. So it brought it all together, and it certainly made it for the last episode we really got the relationship. They're my brothers. They're not just they were my rescuers. They were my friends. I'm getting close to them. They're my brothers. And that's what clones always call each other. Brothers.
Right. Yeah. They're all the brothers. And so it's really good for her to be kind of in that feel, but in a deeper way, really, than just, well, we're all clones together, but like they really are, emotionally her brothers too.
Yeah.
So plan seems like a good one. They're going to attack the refinery to distract the Empire because it's all on autocannon, so they can shut the autocannons down. Of course, easy plans in Star Wars always means that something's going to go wrong. It's like the default. I think you would throw everyone for a curveball if you had an easy plan just go right.
Yeah.
Nobody would know what to do
or something. I love it when a plan comes together, but never on these. I loved this. I loved how now I don't know Hera's accent. Her young self still has, I guess, a Twi'lek accent. She doesn't sound like that. So when she says like chopper, it sounds like hopper, maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to what is she calling him? It's not his name, I'm like, okay, I guess I could see what she's doing. But it was just so funny. And then to hear like the 3 R2 units come out, and they're all using like classic R2 language. Right. And unless you're talking about R2D2, R2 units are bad. They're the Empire, where Hopper just like zaps them and stuff like that. So I love that whole scene, and I like having Chopper around again.
Oh yeah,
he's just great comic relief, and you're always throwing him into, we're gonna put you in a situation where you might get killed, because you're a robot.
Right, because it's okay if you did get shot, it wouldn't be a big deal. We'll just fix you the next time.
Yeah, we'll just fix you. No big deal.
And one of the other reasons that I feel like there's more to the Hera story is Chopper's not as sassy in these episodes as he was in Rebels, right? And I feel like we would have gotten it at some point in here, like the real, just the sass bot version of him.
Yeah, he was only sassy to the troop, the 2 clones, when they're like, "You're not supposed to be here," and he throws up his arms like, "Well, I'm just here." Yeah, but you think about it. I mean, how long was he with Hera? I don't know when the rest of the clan, rest of the gang joined her. Before we got to the beginning of Rebels, but they must have developed this relationship, and of course, he's kind of like, "Listen, I've been with Hera from the beginning.
From the beginning.
Don't give me gruff because I'm a droid. I'm really second in command here. Actually, it's probably his attitude. So the sass built over time. I bet.
Exactly. Oh man, that makes the whole Rebels stint so much better. Like where he thinks he's the second in command.
Yeah, he's like, who the heck are you people? Johnny come lately.
It makes so much more sense the way he treats Kanan too.
yeah. I mean, that's just it. I mean, Kanan's just a kid too. I mean, it's that gives us. I mean, I don't know what, like 20 years, maybe 20 to 25 years until Rebels. I don't know if there's an official, how far away the end of the Bad Batch episode 12 is.
It's got to be 18 because at most is our upper limit, right? Because Luke's still 18 and he's already been born at this point.
Right. Yeah.
So,
and then, that's right. It has to be a little. Yeah. So he's just been born and he's 18 at A New Hope.
Yeah.
So, okay. So really, they're probably more like, Hera's probably like 12.
Yeah.
Something
I think that's the range.
And then you get another, and then you get like her up to like 30, 31 ish. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. And Chopper there the whole time. And then, and you also get the sense that maybe Chopper wasn't even her droid, but was her parents' droid that her parents have assigned to her to kind of take care of her. So maybe there's even a sense of Chopper is the commander.
Yeah.
he feels like, hey, I'm the parent here taking care of all you people.
Right.
Oh, brother. That just adds layers. I love how you can do that kind of stuff and just add layers to these characters with just these tiny little things here. So that's really good. But yeah, so Chopper fails in his mission. He can't quite manage to get the autocannons taken down. So the girls have to take matters into their own hands, and they manage to. They hijack a shuttle, and you gotta wonder how easy it is to hijack vehicles in George Lucas fiction in general.
Yeah.
But specifically in Star Wars, it seems
there's
like
definitely no keys. I mean, you can get an Ewok can grab a speeder bike.
Right.
They're always stealing shuttles. I mean, they had the stolen shuttle in Jedi 2. They stole the TIE fighter in the episode 7.
Right.
Of course, they had a TIE fighter pilots, but still. So yeah, I mean, apparently there's obviously no key or even code. You just get in and start it up.
Just seems like the ship's ready to go.
Yeah. And so and it was quite a powerful ship. I mean, they basically disabled the whole place. All the automatic cannons were down once they shot whatever strategic thing they shot. I don't even know. They looked like they shot a garage door to me. I wasn't sure what it was, but that did it for them.
The nebulous command secret. It's just kind of there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I love text line. So I'm detecting some explosions at your location. Yep, Tech, you are.
Yeah, yes. My favorite part. What do you say? Like, she's like, I'm getting good at this. And she's like, yes, you're confusing them just as much. You're confusing us. You're erratic and unorthodox flying, whatever he called it.
Right. Well, I love it that now Omega no longer has this leg to stand on of flying's more of a feeling, because I think Hera just disproved that for Tech. So Tech will be like, no, you need some more training before you can get behind the wheel and actually do this, Omega.
Right.
But they do manage to make enough of a distraction that the Empire sends most of the Force away from the main area and over to the refinery to protect it. But one clone in particular is not fooled, and Crosshair stays behind with a small group of his people because he knows the real target's Champ. He knows his brothers well enough that they weren't here to destroy the refinery. They were here to rescue Champ. And we get to see Crosshair knowing their moves before they're able to enact them. And we realize by the end of this episode, that he hasn't actually been given any orders to go and take them out directly, except for that one time where he found them in the derelict ship. So it's kind of a new territory for him after this episode.
He's a great villain. Because you don't like him. You almost didn't like him a little bit when he was part of the group. I mean, he was kind of like a too cool for school kind of jerk when he was with them. And now, as opposed to like Howzer and his men coming to, even though they have the chip, becoming more aware of making their own free choice and the Empire is so good, is you wonder if Crosshair is beyond saving. Is like, could they take the chip out, and would that mean anything? Because of how and the fact that he wants to hunt down his former brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't he request that sooner? If maybe he wasn't ready for that. I don't know. it's just interesting, you know, the juxtapose of these two troopers going in opposite directions.
Well, and I think we took back to that they did do something to his chip. So when they pulled him aside, they strengthened his chip.
Right.
That first episode. So
right. I forgot about that. Okay.
There's still a little bit of a question of how much is his will versus the thing that's been imposed on him. And
well, he certainly hasn't been struggling. I mean, they're repeating that mantra, like, you know, good soldiers follow order. He's totally into it. He's, you know, he reminds me of the kid in Red Dawn. You know, do you remember Red Dawn?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I forget his name, but Jared, I forget. I'm trying to remember. They're like, but anyway, you know, he just kept become more hard the more he killed and the more he, you know, he was totally lockstep into doing this. And that's where I see Crosshairs. He's just, it's not really so much about the Empire as much as it's just him being right and him having power. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and him. Yeah. Really, it is. It's about following the orders and kind of diving deeper into them the further along you get, which is just sort of the nature of evil, right? That's kind of you start off on those small bits, and as you go more, you become desensitized to it, so you do more, and then you become desensitized to that, and more becomes almost necessary to keep that momentum rolling.
Yeah, a slave to the evil and the evil tendencies and sins that you're committing, as opposed to the freedom, even though they look like they're not free. I mean, they were in jail. Hera's family, Twi'lek, you know, but they chose against the tyranny, so they actually were more free because they weren't subjugated to this rule of the Empire.
Right.
That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, and then we see that brings us back around full circle to Howzer, who stops the Hunter and Echo from taking the easy path out to the hangar where there's an ambush waiting for them, and says, look, you guys need to go the other direction. There's another ship up in Senator Ta's room, and they figure that all out together. And then Howzer says, I need to convince my brothers to stop this. And the gates open, and he does. That's exactly what he does. He walks out, throws down his weapon, and says, I'm not going to be a part of this anymore. And several of his former troop mates do the same thing. They drop their weapons and join him. Yeah.
Now, why did Cham suddenly? I mean, like, he wouldn't believe him when he came to him in the jail, but now he did though. I was like, well, what changed all of a sudden? What did Howzer do? I mean,
that's a good question.
It didn't seem like there was anything. Like, he could have still been setting them up, I suppose. But for whatever reason, Cham decided he was gonna. He trusted him now.
Yeah.
There was the was it his wife or someone said we have the that other ship.
Yeah, I think it was Eleni. I think it was
Eleni,
his wife Eleni that did say that there was there.
Yeah, Eleni. Yeah. So she said it, but I mean that didn't mean that he was right. I don't know. I felt like it was. I don't know. There wasn't enough there to make me think, why are you trusting him now? Unless he was really tempted to trust him before, but just didn't feel he was ready. I don't know.
Well, I'm surprised that Hunter and Echo went along with it too, because they have been experiencing this whole the chip haywiring everybody's brain thing. I mean, firsthand they had that experience with Wrecker, going off the deep end.
Yeah.
Before they were able to get all their ships
which
out.
one of them was looking back at Howzer? They were because they were like bringing up the rear, and he was looking back at him as he was going up to the big doors to open it up to his brothers. Like,
oh yeah, I think that was Echo. I think that was Echo.
Echo?
Yeah,
okay. Echo was just kind of like, what's he doing?
Yeah,
yeah. There was interesting looks between these guys. And now, remind me, how far back does Howzer go? I mean, is as far
Howzer's
as how
Rebels, I think he's. And this is a discussion we had in my house too. So we were trying to figure out which generation of clone he was, because there's been some talk about which generation of clones did have the chip and which ones didn't, because there was an episode in Rebels where they went and visited the retired guys who were out sand fishing, and one of them You remember those guys, right?
Yeah, and those were those. I mean, I don't remember if it wasn't Commander Cody or anything, but it was some of the guys that like from the Clone Wars.
Right. It was ones we recognized, right?
Yeah.
So one of them lost the chip. One of them had it damaged. One of them had it removed. One of them had it damaged, and another one I seem to remember that they said that he didn't have the chip implanted, like he never had a chip because he was one of the first generation of clones.
Okay.
And so I'm wondering if Howzer, I got to go back and do some more research about Howzer, but I'm wondering if Howzer was one of those first generation clones that maybe didn't have a chip implanted in them. And so there's no issue there with the chip because, he's free of it. But I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what exactly his story is. So I'm gonna have to dig a little more on him.
Yeah. He looked, it's difficult because obviously these guys all look alike. I know they have their little quirks, their little haircuts, their little scars that kind of help. But still, you don't have, and they the same guy voices all of them.
Right.
I mean, I know he tries to put subtleties in there, but it can be difficult to try to which one's he? Okay, right. I'm not sure. So I was rewatching, different parts again, and looking back and saying, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to know him.
Howzer was in Clone Wars, and Cham was in Clone Wars too. So Cham and Howzer were in Clone Wars, and I think Anakin's group might have visited them, or it might have been like a one-off episode where they were in. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've seen that bit of Clone Wars, but so he's not a new character, but I will say,
I remember Cham. Yeah, actually, now that I think about it, that sounds familiar because he's got a very unique Twi'lek kind of look to him,
right?
Much like kind of bigger, and he's a general and everything.
Yeah.
What about Rampart? Because he looked like the one in Rebels who ended up being the traitor, who he was kind of like the big bad officer, and they ended up being the one who was feeding him information and stuff.
No, I think Rampart is a new character.
I know he's not him, but it just looked like him. I mean, right. he had a similar look.
It's that Imperial thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not more than just the uniform. I mean, I bet if you look at them side by side, these guys look alike. Maybe they're brothers. I don't know. But anyway,
could be.
But he's kind of new though. Rampart, correct?
Yeah. He's. I think he was. I think he was in the Clone Wars, but not until towards the end. But okay. He's was he? No, he might only be a Bad Batch. Yeah, I think that might be what it is that he was introduced along with this series, and so he's our big Imperial bad for this particular series. But yeah, he's not. Howzer was around, and I have to say jokingly around our house, it was he's the clone with the good hair. That's how we've been referring to him. Because,
okay, yeah, I can see that.
He has the good hair. Right?
He has the good hair. Yeah, because a lot of, none of the Bad Batch guys, those 99s, they're all.
Oh no, man.
They're bald or just weird. Yeah, they gave up a long time ago. But we've gone off on a tangent. I think they blew up the guns, so they got the diversion. Yep. They rescued Champ and Eleni and the rest of them, and they took them to the right ship. And did you think that Crosshairs was going to shoot Howzer after
I was surprised he didn't, actually.
Yeah, I was like, he's going to take him out. He's going to take him out. But he just said arrest him. I'm like, wow. Gosh, I thought he was dead.
Yeah, I was one. But then I don't know. I wonder about Crosshair, and that's why I think there is some level of he has to be redeemable, and I think they've pushed him as far as they can go on the evilness scale.
I see that. Yeah, if they're going to look for redemption, that would have been kind of tough to bring him back from, murdering a fellow clone.
Right.
Like that. Yeah.
I was really worried that it was going to end in Eleni being shot. Like the door open, Eleni's there, and Crosshair shoots her, because that was our that was the thing that that Father Andrew and I were talking about last week, was that we feel like the falling out between Hera and Cham had to do with Eleni's death, because she's not around in Rebels. Like, we don't see her, we don't hear about her, we just get the fleeting reference to her. So we were wondering if maybe that was the falling out, and that was what we were going to see this episode. So I'm glad, to some extent, that we didn't get quite that deep down the rabbit hole. But yeah. So I think the question here really comes back to Howzer. Like, what is it about him and the men that lay down their arms that Order 66 is not affecting them anymore, and why? Why now? Was there like a time limit on it? Was there something that, like you were saying, maybe the clones are being phased out, and so part of that is letting them, easing up on the Order 66 stuff, and now they can make their own decisions. But that's putting them in hot water because now they're realizing that they were betrayed, and they're turning that back on the Empire.
Well, I hope it gets investigated in the next few episodes.
Yeah.
What's going on, and they spend so much time on Howzer in 2 episodes, and his effect he had on his own men.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like, it's interesting, these little pockets of clone troopers, the ones that have been moving the chip and stuff, who aren't going along, with Order 66. And it's kind of nice, because when you followed how the progression went, especially with episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, it was tough seeing the clones suddenly kill Jedi. I mean, that was such a betrayal, and because they fought side by side, and they were always such good soldiers, and so to see that it's a chip, and some of them are coming back and saying no, the Jedi are good, is cool. So it'd be interesting to see. I hope they continue to investigate that, explore that.
Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna go deeper with it, and that's because I know that's a big part of the questions that we're asking surrounding the Clone Force 99 and what they've had to deal with, getting the chips out of their head, and who exactly Crosshair is and what he's responsible for. So it'll be interesting to see how that all pans out.
Right.
Okay, so to finish up the episode, because I think these are all interesting questions, but they all kind of get dumped in there right towards the end, and we finally see the Syndulas get back together, and we see this endearing scene of Hera being reunited with her family, and Omega and the brothers standing there together, and that kind of acknowledgement of the two families, and how they're responsible for themselves and what they're going on to be. They're going to go on to be, one of them's going to go on to be the Resistance, and the other one, we're still wondering, like, where does the Batch fit into all of that?
Yeah, I got a real sense of, okay, the way that especially Eleni was talking was about rebellion. I mean, we're going to form a rebellion. We got to get organized. We got to meet with other people who are doing this, and I mean, this is like, we're a generation away from Hera and everything she does, which really is, in a certain sense, you've got a whole nother generation that comes with episodes, the original episodes that finally take them down. So it's interesting. It's almost like we have 3 generations of rebellion going on here to finally take them down.
Really, and
take down the Empire.
Yeah. It takes a lot. I mean, it's you look at how much of a ragtag band it is. And I think it was kind of illustrated by the fact that what the Batch was able to drop off in the previous episode was 32 blasters and some thermal detonators.
Yeah,
and that was supposed to be enough to at least start the resistance on Ryloth. And it's tough. It's tough thinking about taking on the entire Empire with 32 blasters and some thermal detonators, right?
Well, if they can get Hera driving one of those transports, I mean,
there you go, done. Problem solved.
There you go. Yeah,
you just phone it in now. And then we also get the scene right at the end where Crosshair comes up to Admiral Rampart and asks directly for permission to go and hunt down Clone Force 99. And I get the impression that he's done it before. I get the impression this isn't the first time he's asked, but this is the first time he's had a position to be able to ask and have the answer be yes.
Yeah, interesting. I was sitting there thinking, well, haven't you been trying to do that? I guess, but maybe, I mean, like, literally, they've been in your way of other stuff, but I guess maybe they haven't been the target. So now they're enough of a nuisance that we need to take them out specifically. So maybe he did, and I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, good soldiers follow orders, right? So he might have said, "Hey, can I go hunt them down?" And they said, "Nah, you don't need to do that. Just let them be." We got other things for you to do, right?
Right.
We're gonna go send you to take out this resistance group we found that's starting up. Saw Gerrera's groups. Go do that.
The funny thing is,
these new troops.
the stuff they did to Saw Gerrera's group created them. I mean, like,
right.
Obviously they're creating everything, but sometimes if they would have just let things go, they would have just probably not a lot would have happened. But like they created battle hardened rebels out of a lot of these people who just wanted to live their lives.
What's the line? A man often meets his destiny on the road to avoid it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, kind of like a la Braveheart or something. I just wanted to have a farm.
If you just left me alone,
just leave me alone.
Sometimes Empire, you just got to let it be, right? Just let it ride.
Really. Well, that's the problem with Empires. They can't. That's their whole thing. That's not what they do.
Yeah. Yep. The more you go and fidget in people's business, the worse off you're going to be in the end. So.
Exactly.
All right. So, any final thoughts about this episode?
No, it just got me excited to see what's gonna happen next. They kind of left it. I mean, just that. Can I hunt them down? That's some cool stuff. That might be some. Omega, go sit in a safe spot. let your brothers handle this because they're gonna have some problems.
Hey, she's the only one that's managed to shoot Crosshair so far. So I'm
not taking her. I'm just saying. I mean, they gotta be realistic to a certain extent, and let them do some of the heavy lifting.
Well, and we have 6 episodes left, right? Because I think it's going to be, is it 18 episodes that this one's going to be?
I'm showing 16 on 16? IMDb. Okay. Yeah, so 4.
Oh, so only 4, so 4 episodes left.
The next one is Infested.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, whatever that means.
Oh, Father Andrew, you better be on next week because if it's anything about spiders, we're gonna have to talk. Oh boy. All right. So I think for me, I like this episode. I thought it was really good. I thought the framing of the Batch as her brothers was probably the best takeaway from this one. Just to get that feel of, these are my brothers, and having 4 sons and 4 daughters myself, that 4 sons to take care of one of the daughters. So it immediately put me in that frame. Okay, there we go. That's what it is. Really
and don't get me wrong. I like Omega. I like the whole relationship. I'm not down on kids.
Right.
But it was just some of the goofiness. But I mean, I like that because it offers, throughout this whole series, she's been that classic trope of the younger, a little bit more innocent, but not as helpless as you might have thought.
Right.
when you first got, came across her. So it's been a great story, and I'm enjoying seeing their relationship, just deepen as with each episode.
Right. Yeah. And then I think the other thing was just seeing the seeds of leadership being sown in Hera here, where you've got this young girl on her own, kind of scared. She calls in help. And what does help do? Well, you're going to have to help us. You're going to have to lead us. Tell us what we're going to do. You make the plan, And it's like, oh, really? I can do that? And then that other moment where after Chopper fails and Omega looks at her and says, well, we're just going to have to do it. And Hera's like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean we're going to have to do it? And Omega's like, let's go. And then they get up and you said you wanted to be a pilot. Here's your chance.
Here you go. We saw her first flight. I mean, that was kind of,
right.
Yeah. I mean, that's those little things are kind of cool. Yeah.
Well, and I think one of the coolest parts about having this story be told out of chronological order is being able to see those moments, right? Where we go back and we see the beginnings of what that character is going to be later.
Well, I mean, what would Star Wars be if we, did things in chronological order? That would just be weird.
That'd be completely wrong,
and you wonder, are we going to get to see Hera and Kanan meet in this?
Yeah.
We haven't seen him since he took off, or he was since the first episode, right? He's been that'd be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool.
That would be really neat. I think they have covered that in the comics, so it would be interesting to see. Yeah, it would be interesting to see. Like, she gets him out of a tight spot. He's being rounded up by the
adults
Empire.
By this time? So because
they're not teenagers at that point.
Okay.
I think
if there's not some sort of happenstance meeting when they're 12 and 13 or whatever, then we're not going to see it. But you never know.
That's true. Yeah, because that is a little bit later. I don't know. Maybe they adjust the timeline a little bit.
Yeah,
we'll see. Or they'll show up in one of these other hundreds of series that are popping up now for Star.
Yeah, there's time. There's definitely time.
We got it. I'm good. I'm good with the story of Hera appearing more too. That's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. So that's it from us. What did you think of this episode of The Bad Batch? Be sure to email us or comment on our Facebook or Twitter page and let us know. You can email us any feedback at starwars@sqpn.com and find StarQuest on Facebook at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Or you can find us on Twitter at SQPN. We'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who made it possible for us to create The Secrets of Star Wars, including David M., Brian S., Russell Y., Timothy D., and John K. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue The Secrets of Star Wars and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Also, be sure to subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or on the SQPN YouTube channel. To find previous episodes of The Secrets of Star Wars, please visit sqpn.com/Star Wars. And join us next week as we discuss the next exciting episode of The Bad Batch. Until then, Mike Denz, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
It was my pleasure. I was toying with the idea of trying to do a Chopper imitation. I don't think I could. I'm not Dave Filoni. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how he does that.
Yeah, I avoid doing the droid sounds because I'm gonna make a fool of myself first off, and then exactly. I just have stuck in my head the canon, like the joke canon that R2D2 is just a badmouth person or badmouth droid the entire time. That's why they had to bleep everything that he says.
Yeah, that's all it really is. He talked normal.
Yeah. Well, and if you go off of C-3PO's interpretations of what he's saying, it's not far from the truth.
Watch your language. Yeah.
So, thanks for joining me. We appreciate you being here. And once again, I'm Thomas Sanjurjo. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Star Wars on StarQuest.